Hi, this is Marc with RawNutrition.com. In this video, I'll be comparing three juicers juicing apples. This is actually the third video that I've done comparing juicers with apple juicing. So in this one, I have two types of juicers. I have a twin gear juicer, the Kempo, the Green Kempo, and I have two single auger vertical masticating juicers. So these two juicers are a little different. This one is the latest version, like the latest technology from Omega. It's the VSJ843. It turns at 43 revolutions per minute, and it has a really tight tolerance between the auger and the screen for squeezing out the most juice. So that's this part here. The auger and the screen fit tightly together. It means the pulp really gets squeezed and you're going to get the most juice out. Now this is the VSJ, so it just has a silicone plug. There's a similar juicer available, the Huron Elite, that has a control lever so it can retain the most pressure and inside and squeezing the most juice out of your pulp. But in this demonstration, I've got the VSJ843. We can expect similar results with the Elite SW-2000. Then I've got the Slowstar, the SW-2000. This is the B model with the juice cap. Now this juicer's been out a few years. It hasn't really been upgraded as far as the juicing parts. A little bit with there was a difference with the bowl and screen, but it turns at 47 revolutions per minute. So a little tiny bit faster, really just a pretty slow juicer nonetheless. Then we move over to the Kempo Green Power Elite. This one here has twin gears, so basically when you put your pulp, your vegetables in, everything is processed through the twin gears, in between pressed, and then all that remaining pulp is squeezed out through the juicing screen. So this juicer's been around for quite a few years, so it's a tried and true juicer, works well. It's the most compact twin gear juicer available. This is the E1304. There's also the 1303. The main difference is this little locking mechanism on the 1303. It's on the handle, a little easier to use than probably this little switch here on the base, but nonetheless the juicing parts, motor is really the same. So whichever Kempo juicer you have, you get the same results. So I'm going to get started with the VSJ843. Again, as I mentioned, this is the third video, so you can check in our video information. I've got two other videos comparing juicers juicing apples. So I'll go ahead and cut these apples and start with the VSJ, and I've chosen to wait to cut them so I get the freshest apples that won't have turned or browned. Perfect, so I've got my apples ready and cut, ready to put into the juicer. Now these are smaller opening ovals, so I do have to cut them into quarters, even eighths in this case, to get them to fit. So the Slowstar and the VSJ843 pretty much have the same opening, whereas the smallest opening in this demonstration is with the Kempo juicer. More of a square, rounded square. These are more oval. Perfect, so I'll get started. Important with the vertical juicers like this to start when introduce produce as soon as possible. Now generally these will take up most of your fruits and vegetables. My apples are cut a little bit big, so I do need to push them in a little bit. But not too much, really, just to get the auger to take it up. And with a juicer like this, just feed consistently. It's making a little bit of noise. I'm not quite sure why. Not usually a noisy juicer, but everything seems to be turning well. Some vegetables or fruits are a little more squeaky than others when you're juicing. Look at the vibration too on the table. So we're seeing a nice juice. I always prefer to juice a harder apple, a harder flesh apple. You'll find you'll get the most juice and the best results. just needing to push the larger pieces so they get taken up by the auger. And there you have it, the VSJ843. I can let it go a little bit till I start to see the juice stops flowing here and spurts with this juicer, kind of spurts out the juice in bits as the auger is turning and crushing. The juice comes out in spurts, so that's very normal. So here's our juice with the VSJ843 from Omega. I'm going to go ahead and cut my apples and then start juicing with the Slowstar SW-2000B. Perfect, so we're ready to juice with the Slowstar SW-2000. This is juicer again, turns at 47 revolutions per minute. And the shape of the auger is a little different, so I may not need to push in as much. And I'm getting some squeaking too. Occasionally I will need to push depending on the size. And never apply pressure really. You really just want to maintain a light pressure so the juicer can take up the fruit. You don't need to push things in. What will happen is basically you'll end up causing the juicer to stop if you push hard to get things to be taken up. Just let the juicer take and process. I cut some of these are a little tight. There was a little bit of juice that came out over here on the pulp side. I will save it. That sometimes happens with upright juicers. You'll see a little bit of juice coming out before the pulp comes out. And you can try to catch it with a glass. In this case I just got it with my pulp collection. I've not seen that with the VSJ843. I do sometimes see that with the Kuvin's whole slow juicer. Oh, our little Slowstar's a little noisy doing apples. Anytime you juice one vegetable or fruit exclusively, you really get some responses from your juicer. I'll cut that one a little tight. This one too. And there's our last piece. Well, this one tends to flow more straight, doesn't come out in spurts like the VSJ. Perfect. And there you have our juice with the Slowstar. Next up, the Kempo Green Power juicer. I will go ahead and cut these apples and then start juicing these. I will need to cut them in smaller pieces. Our opening is smaller, just a rounded square, as I mentioned, so definitely not an oval, so I do need to make sure my apple pieces fit, so I'll take a little more time and cut them into smaller pieces. Perfect, so the apples are cut and I'm ready to start juicing with the Kempo juicer, Green Power. This juicer turns at 160 revolutions per minute. Now with a twin gear, you will definitely need to push to get your two augers or twin gears inside to take up. Now I do have the fine hole screen for juicing these apples. The Kempo does include a large hole screen, but for a fair comparison, these are only fine hole screens that are installed and available. I'm using the fine hole screen. You do have a pulp lever on the end. You want to make sure some pulp does come out of there, so I eased up a little bit. But I did see a couple drops of juice come out first. Now I'm seeing a little flow of pulp, so I'm pretty good. As long as I see pulp, I know the juicer's not going to back up. And I have a flow of pulp coming out. I can tighten it up a little bit. Just want to make sure I'm not keeping it all inside where the juicer may jam. But I do need to push. For someone who has any joint problems or a bad elbow, you will want to choose a juicer like an upright vertical. It doesn't require everything to be pushed in like this. If you juice 3 times a day, you'll find this a little annoying. You have to push everything in. I have 4 apples in each bowl, pretty much size the same. We'll see about results, see which one seems to yield the most juice. There is a little bit of pulp and juice there in here. I can open it up a bit. Make sure my augers clear that out. And we're pretty much complete there. I'll pull out some glasses. And we'll see what our results are. So we can see the foam settling here. We do have some foam with the VSJ. And this juice is slightly brown. There's still a fair bit of foam on there, even though it's a slow turning juicer. The Slowstar doesn't seem to have as much foam on the top. In my previous demos, I had Granny Smith apple. Juice was definitely green. The Kempo juicer, well, still a fair bit of foam, I'd say about like the VSJ, not as much as the Slowstar. This one does have a nice little lip on the cup, so you can pour and your foam stays on top. Now this one hasn't turned yet and just sitting here juicing one to the other. The other 2 have had a chance to start to oxidize. Let's just give them a taste, see what they're like. Very good, very fresh and very good apple taste. Let's see with the Slowstar. This one is really no pulp that I could distinguish. In the Slowstar, flavor is pretty much the same, a little bit of pulp. And now with our Kempo, definitely no pulp, same flavor. None of these are centrifuge juicers, so none of them incorporated lots of air and made any significant change in the flavor or temperature of the juice. These are all refrigerator cold apples, so the temperature is the same. This one's still not quite as dark, and that's really because it's the last one I finished with. The Kempo gears do have these bioceramic magnets inside to prevent oxidation, but I'm sure if I leave these out a little bit, this one will darken just as much and really live pretty much looking the same. So flavor, definitely very good. Yield seems to be pretty similar. I didn't do the measuring cup, but we're seeing about the same left over. So as far as yield, these types of juicers are really suited for juicing apples exclusively. But you'll find some juicers like the centrifuge juicer, you'll not get a very much juice or very nice amount of juice with your apples. So again, this is Marc with RawNutrition.com. Be sure to check us out online and subscribe to our videos here on YouTube. And as I mentioned, I do have 2 other videos comparing other juicers juicing apples, so check out the details in the video information and you'll be able to find the links to those videos.